good morning. It is July 18th, 2021. And due to popular request by you being the popular one, like in the movie Heathers or its sequel, Mean Girls, I will be reading Andy Weir's novel, The Martian, a New York Times #1 bestseller. Again, the back. Let's read. A mission to Mars. A freak accident. One man struggled to survive. Actually, you know what? I read most of this before. By most of it, I meant the entire back. I do want to point out once again that it was called Relentlessly Entertaining and Inventive by Ernest Cline, of course. So we begin, once again. Now let me just take another quick sip of coffee. That's epic. That's one epic coffee. All right. Chapter 1. Log entry, Soul 6. I'm pretty much fucked. That's my considered opinion. Fucked. 6 days into what should have been the greatest month of my life, and it's turned into a nightmare. I don't even know who will read this. I guess someone will find it eventually. Maybe 100 years from now. For the record, I didn't die on Sol 6. Certainly the rest of my crew thought I did, and I can't blame them. Maybe there'll be a day of national mourning for me, and my Wikipedia page will say Mark Watney is the only human being to have died on Mars. And it'll be right. Probably. Because I'll surely die here. Just not on Sol 6, when everyone else thinks I did. Let's see. Where do I begin? The Ares program. Mankind are reaching out to Mars to send people to another planet for the very first time and expand the horizons of humanity, blah, blah, blah. The Ares 1 crew did their thing and came back heroes. They got the parades and the fame and the love of the world. The Ares 2 program did the same thing in a different location on Mars. They got a firm handshake and a hot cup of coffee when they got home. Ares 3? Well, that was my mission. Okay, not mine, per se. Commander Lewis was in charge. I was just one of her crew. Actually, I was the very lowest ranked member of the crew. I would only be, quote, in command of the mission if I were the only remaining person. And what do you know? I'm in command. I wonder if this log will be recovered before the rest of the crew die of old age. I presume they got back to Earth all right. If you're reading this, it wasn't your fault. You did what you had to do. In your position, I would have done the exact same thing. I don't blame you. I'm just glad you survived. There's a break in the paragraph. I'm just going to take another sip of coffee. That's fucking good, dude. Fuck yeah. Oh, fuck, brother. I guess I should explain how Mars missions work. For any layman who might be reading this, let me just read that sentence again. I fucked that on. I guess I should explain how Mars missions work for any layman who might be reading this. We got to Earth orbit in the normal way, through an ordinary ship to Hermes. All the Ares missions use Hermes to get to and from Mars. It's a really big and it costs a lot, so NASA built only one. Once we got to Hermes, 4 additional unmanned missions... What? When we got to Hermes, 4 additional unmanned missions brought us fuel and supplies while we prepared for our trip. Once everything was a go, we set out for Mars, but not very fast. Gone are the days of heavy chemical fuel burns and trans-Mars trajectory orbits. Hermes is powered by ion engines. They throw argon out the back of the ship really fast to get a tiny amount of acceleration. The thing is, it doesn't take much reactant mass, so a little argon and a nuclear reactor to power things lets us accelerate constantly the whole way there. You'll be amazed at just how fast you can get going with a tiny acceleration over a long time. I could regale you with tales about how we had great fun on the trip, but I don't. I won't. I don't feel like we're reliving it now. Suffice it to say, we got to Mars 124 days later without strangling each other. From there, we took the MDV, the Mars Descent Vehicle, to the surface. The MDV is basically a big can with some light thrusters and a parachute attached. Its sole purpose is to get 6 humans from Mars orbit to the surface without killing any of them. And now we have come to the real trick of Mars exploration. Having all our shit there in advance. A total of 14 unmanned missions deposited everything and we would need for the surface operations. They tried their best to land all the supply vessels in the same general area and did a reasonably good job. Supplies aren't nearly so fragile as humans and can hit the ground really hard, but they tend to bounce out a lot. Naturally, they didn't send us to Mars until they confirmed that all the supplies had made it to the surface and their containers weren't breached. Start to finish, including supply missions, a Mars mission takes about 3 years. In fact, there were Aerie 3 supplies en route to Mars while the Aerie 2 crews were still on their way home. The most important piece of the advanced supplies, of course, was the MAV, the Mars Ascent Vehicle. That was how we would get back to Hermes after surface operations were complete. The MAV was soft-landed, as opposed to the balloon bounce fest. What? Oh, bounce fest. That's not a word. That's why it threw me off. The MAV was soft-landed, as opposed to the balloon bounce fest the other supplies had. Of course, it was in constant connection with Houston, and if there was any problems with it, we would have just passed by Mars and gone home without ever having landed. The MAV is pretty cool. Turns out, through a neat set of chemical reactions with the Martian atmosphere, for every kilogram of hydrogen you bring to Mars, you can make 13 kilograms of fuel. It's a slow process, though. It takes about 24 months to fill the tank. That's why they send it long before we got here. You can imagine how disappointed I was when I discovered the MAV was gone. I took a little break there. You couldn't tell. I paused the recording. In fact, you didn't know unless I told you, which I did right now. That's awkward for everyone. Excuse me. Oh, Jesus, that was a big spike. I apologize. In fact, I'm going to go back and just... No, that's fine. Oh, we did it. We did it in one. No, I'm not going to fix anything. Fuck fixing things in post. And we continue. It was a ridiculous sequence of events that led to me almost dying. An even more ridiculous sequence of events that led to me surviving. The mission is designed to handle sandstorm gusts over... I shouldn't have taken a break. I had a good flow going, and yet now I really fucked this pooch, as they say. The mission is designed to handle sandstorm gusts up to 150 kilometers per hour, so Houston got understandably nervous when we got whacked up with 175 kilometer per hour winds. We got all in our flight spacesuits and huddled in the middle of the hab, just in case it lost pressure, but the hab wasn't the problem. The MAV is a spaceship. It has a lot of delicate parts. It can put up with storms to a certain extent, but it can't just be sandblasted forever. After an hour and a half of sustained wind, NASA gave the order to abort. Nobody really wanted to stop a month-long mission after only 6 days, but if the MAV took any more punishment, we've all gotten stranded down there. So we had to go out in the storm to get from the hab to the MAV. That was going to be risky, but what choice did we have? Everyone made it but me. Our communication dish, which relayed signals from the hab to Hermes, acted like a parachute getting torn from its foundation and carried with the torrent. Along the way, it crashed through the reception antenna array. Then one of those long, thin antennas slammed into me end first. It tore through my suit like a bullet through butter, and I felt the worst pain of my life as it ripped open my side. I vaguely remember having the wind knocked out of me, well, pulled out of me, really, and my ears popping painfully as the pressure of the suit escaped. The last thing I remember was seeing Johansson hopelessly reaching out towards me. Johansson? That's not a real name, brother. Fuck. Andy here knows nothing about names. I awoke to the oxygen alarm in my suit, a steady, obnoxious beeping that eventually roused me from the deep and profound desire to just fucking die. The storm had abated, and I was face down, almost totally buried in the sand. As I groggily came to, I wondered why I wasn't more dead. The antenna had enough force to punch through my suit. Let me say that again. Punch through my suit. The antenna had enough force to punch through the suit and my side, but it had been stopped by my pelvis. So there was only one hole in the suit and a hole in me, of course. I had been knocked back quite a ways, and I rolled down a steep hill. Somehow I landed face down, which forced the antenna to a strongly oblique angle that put a lot of torque on the hole in the suit. It made a weak seal. Someone just sent me a message on Discord. I thought it was you. I was very excited. I really should have stopped the recording to have a Discord break, but now you got me. My friends are reacting. I posted that. You remember that Yoshi picture? I don't know if you remember. I don't know when I'm sending this to you. Remember that Yoshi picture? My friends are sending that back to me. Then the copious amount of blood from the wound trickled down towards the hole. As the blood reached the side of the breach, the water in the quickly evaporating... As the blood reached the side of the breach, the water in it quickly evaporated from the airflow and the low pressure, leaving a gunky residue behind. More blood came in behind it, and it was also reduced to gunk. Eventually, the sealed gaps around the hole reduced the leak to something the suit can counteract. The soup did its job admirably. Sensing the drop in pressure, it constantly flooded itself with air from my nitrogen tank to equalize. Once the leak became manageable, it only had to trickle new air slowly to leave the air lost. After a while, the CO2, carbon dioxide, absorbers in the suit were expended. That's really the limiting factor to life support. Not the amount of oxygen you bring in with you, but the amount of CO2 you can remove. In the HAB, I had the oxygenator, a large piece of equipment that breaks apart CO2 to give the oxygen back, but the spacesuits had to be portable, so they use a simple chemical absorption process with expendable filters. I had been asleep long enough that my filters were useless. The suit saw this problem and moved to an emergency mode called bloodletting. Having no way to separate the CO2, the suit deliberately vented out air to the Martian atmosphere, then backfilled with nitrogen. Between the breach and the bloodletting, it quickly ran out of nitrogen. All it had left was my oxygen tank. So it did the only thing it could to keep me alive. It started backfilling with pure oxygen. Now, I risked dying from oxygen toxicity, as the excessively high amount of oxygen threatened to burn up my nervous system, lungs, and eyes. An ironic death for someone with a leaky spacesuit. Too much oxygen. Every step of the way, I would have been Every step of the way would have been beeping alarms, alerts, and warnings, but it was the high oxygen warning that woke me. The sheer volume of training for a space mission is astounding. I'd spent a week back on Earth practicing emergency spacesuit drills. I knew what to do. Carefully reaching to the side of my helmet, I got to the breach kit. It's nothing more than a funnel with a valve at the small end and an unbelievably sticky resonant on the wide end. The idea is you have the valve open and stick the wide end over a hole. The air can escape through the valve so it doesn't interfere with the resin, making a good seal. Then you close the valve and you sealed the breach. The tricky part was getting the antenna out of the way. I pulled it out as fast as I could, wincing at the sudden pressure drop dizzied me, and making the wound in my side scream in agony. I got the breach kit over the hole and sealed it. It held. The suit backfilled with the missing air and yet more oxygen. Checking my arm readouts, I saw the suit was now at 85% oxygen. For reference, Earth's atmosphere is about 21%. I'd be okay, as long as I didn't spend too much time like that. I stumbled up the hill back towards the HAB. As I crested the rise, I saw something that made me very happy, and something that made me very sad. The HAB was intact. Yay! The MAV was gone. Boo! Right at that moment, I knew I was screwed. But I didn't want to just die out on the surface. I limped back to the HAB and fumbled my way into an airlock. As soon as it equalized, I threw off my helmet. Once inside the HAB, I doffed the suit and got my first look at the injury. It would need stitches. Fortunately, all of us had been trained in basic medical procedures, and the HAB had excellent medical supplies. a quick shot of local anesthetic, irrigate the wound, 9 stitches, and I was done. I'd be taking antibiotics for a couple of weeks, but other than that, I'd be fine. I knew it was hopeless, but I tried firing up the communications array. No signal, of course. The primary satellite dish had broken off, remember? And it took the receptor antenna with it. The HAB had secondary and tertiary communication systems, but they were just for talking to the MAV, which would be its most powerful systems relate to the Hermes. Thing is, that only works if the MAV is around. I had no way to talk to Hermes. In time, I could locate the dish out of the surface, but it would take weeks for me to rig up any repairs, and that would be way too late. In an abort, Hermes would leave orbit within 24 hours. The orbital dynamics made the trip safer and shorter the earlier you left, so why wait? Checking out my suit, I saw the antenna had plowed through my biomonitor computer. Went on an Ava. Ava? Like a robot? Went on an Ava. All the crew suits are networked. Fuck, I can see the end. I'm very excited. Went on the Ava. All the crew suits are networked, so we can see each other's statuses. The rest of my crew would have seen the pressure in my suit drop to nearly zero, followed immediately by my biosigns going flat. Add to that watching me tumble down a hill with a spear through the middle of my sandstorm. Yeah, they thought I was dead. I mean, how could they not? They may even had a brief discussion about recovering my body, but regulations are clear. In the event a crewman dies on Mars, he stays on Mars. Leaving his body back reduces the weight for the MAV on the trip back. That means more disposable fuel and a larger margin of error for the return thrust. No point giving that up for sentimentality. So, that's the situation. I'm stranded on Mars. I have no way to communicate with Hermes or Earth. Everyone thinks I'm dead, and I'm in a HAB designed to last for 31 days. If the oxygenator breaks down, I'll suffocate. If the water reclaimer breaks down, I'll die of thirst. If the HAB breaches, I'll just kinda explode. If none of those things happen, I'll eventually run out of food and starve to death. So yeah, I'm fucked. And that concludes Chapter 1 of The Martian. This took much longer than I was expecting. I thought this would be a clean 5-minute job. Oh boy, I guess I was incorrect. I've run out of coffee, so I'm going to go maybe upload this to youtube.com. Go get more coffee for ya boy, and maybe read chapter 2. We'll see how I feel about coffee in 10 minutes. The Martian, of course, is copyright of Andy Weir and, I don't know, fucking publishing company. Jesus, there's a lot of praise to this book in the inside. You don't need that much fucking praise. Fuck. I tried to make a joke, and here I am complaining about The Martian. The Martian is a copyright of Andy Weir and Broadway Books, New York. Copyright 2011-2014. All rights reserved. Published in the United States by Broadway Books and Crown Publishing, a division of Penguin Random House, New York. Crown Publishing, Broadway Books, and the logo of Broadway are trademark of Penguin Random House. So originally self-published an ebook. Wow, really? I didn't know that. Originally self-published an ebook in 2011, and subsequently was published in a hardcover in slightly different form in the United States. Crown Publishers and imprinted the Crown Publishing Group, a division of Penguin Random House, LLC, in New York. In 2014, as trade paperback Broadway Books and imprinted the Crown Publishing Group, Penguin Random House in New York, 2017. Printed in the United States. All right, well, what? This is the first movie tie-in mass market edition, if you're curious. All right, well, this has been fun. Just a blast. Goodbye.